All right. Owen. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I'm happy to be your Toastmasters today. We have another beautiful day out in the Pacific Northwest, which, by the way, I'm going to take it all in because, as we all know, fall is coming. And then winter is coming. Right before I start our meeting, we have some roles to call out today. But before I call out those roles to explain what they are, to have the role taker explain what they are, I am going to start with a couple of jokes. Joke number one: I've crossed a lot of things off my to-do list today. I haven't done any of them. I just don't want them on my list anymore. I love
that's good.
That's awesome. You know, some of these are considered dad jokes, but I don't think that was a dad joke. Number two, it's called ventriloquist act. What do you call a ventriloquist act with no puppets?
What's that?
A show of hands.
Oh.
Okay, that one must
That was
must be a dad
But
joke.
bum ding.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that was our levity for this afternoon. For our meeting, as I mentioned earlier, we have some roles to fill, and one of those roles is going to be a table topics master. Buffy, you have taken that role. Can you explain to us what the table topic is?
Table topic is a 1 to 2 minute. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. In temporary, is there a?
It's just Toastmaster.
Toastmaster. All right, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Greetings, Toastmaster. I can't remember the language. I have to practice that. My apologies. Greetings to you all. The table topics master is invites people to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a topic chosen at random, either through this or however the topics master wants to choose the topic. So it's extemporaneous speaking at its best.
Thank you.
I'm complete.
Thank you, Buffy, for explaining that role. Alternatively, you don't have to choose from this. We have folks in the past who just make up their own topic. So if you want to diverge, is that even a word? Outside of using this card, you can. Next is our grammarian role, which I have taken on, and I forgot about the word of the day, so I'm going to use the word diverge. It's our word of the day. As a grammarian, my role is to listen, take notes on good word usage and also bad word usage, such as and or repeated words that detract from the overall conversation or phrase and sentence. I will report that at the end. Again, the word of the day is diverge, Diverge. I believe I'm spelling it right. And the definition is to split from a path. For example, as a sentence, I came across 2 lanes of road and I diverged to the right side to get off of the road. That's one example. Next, I like to call on the role of general evaluator, and that is Brandy.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guest, Sean. As the GE, it is my job to evaluate the meeting from start to finish, look for things that we are doing well and things that we can improve upon, and finally, to give a little bit of feedback to the evaluators, which will be interesting today because I'm the evaluator, the speech evaluator. And then also I have to call up the reports, the timer report and the grammarian report. And forgive me today if I am a little brain foggy as I have COVID. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Is it okay to ask Brandy, can you turn your microphone up a little bit? I think we're as loud as we can get, but
Oh, okay. I think maybe I just have to speak a little louder. Is that better?
a little bit, yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. I will try to speak louder. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy, and thank you for joining us, even though you're feeling a little bit under the weather. Finally, I'd like to call on the role of the timer. Sean, can you explain to us what that role is?
Yeah. You, Mr. Toastmaster. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and honored guest. I'm gonna pretend he's still there. I'm not crazy today, just tired. So as timer, I will be timing the table topic speakers, any formal speeches, and the evaluations. I'm going to alert each speaker on how much time they have left using the green, yellow, and red cards, which denote specific time remaining. For the table topic speakers, it should be no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, the green card will come up, 1.5 minutes, the yellow, and after 2, the red card will come up. For those giving speeches, they should limit their remarks to their specific speech times. Icebreaker speeches will be 4 to 6 minutes in length if there are any. I don't know if there are any today. One icebreaker, beautiful.
Or
So,
not an icebreaker. I'm doing a normal speech.
Is it 4 to 6 minutes?
Yes.
Regular
fi-
5 to 7.
5 to
5 to
7.
7.
5 to 7, perfect. So for your speech, we'll do 5 minutes. I'll raise the green card. 6 minutes will be the yellow, and then 7 minutes will be the red card. Individual evaluations, those will be 2 to 3 minutes. So 2 minutes, I will do the green card. The 2.5 minutes, do the yellow card, and then 3 minutes with the red card. And since I'm new and rusty, I will do my best not to diverge from the rules. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Good job.
Thank you, Sean, for explaining the role as the timer. We appreciate that. Next, I guess it's time to call on to wow. Next, it's time to bring up our speech of the day, the first speech, and so I'll call on the evaluator who's going to present our speaker today, and that's Brandy.
Is somebody going to evaluate Brandy?
Brett.
I'm going to evaluate Brandy. That's funny. Someone could evaluate me, even though I'm the GE. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Will Otto, who will be giving a speech today. Since I haven't communicated with Will before the speech, I don't know what his speech is going to be about. So that will be very interesting for me as the evaluator. And I'm excited because I haven't gotten a chance to listen to Will give a speech yet. I missed his icebreaker. And so this will be his first speech since his icebreaker. And so at this time, I would like to ask Will to head up to the lectern and give us the pleasure of hearing his speech.
Thank you, Brandy, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, honored guest. Today my speech will be called Winging It. I'm going to attempt an impromptu speech today. So today I would like to talk to you about taking the road less traveled. Growing up, my family loved to go camping. But my parents were what you would call recovering city folk. My dad, bless his heart, could always like the nature, but he liked seeing it from a car. So as a result, we always stayed in campers. We grew up, first starting in a pop-up camper and moving our way up until now they have a full-sized RV. So as a result, we often stayed at state campgrounds and the big campgrounds where you could plug in electricity, plug in your water. It was basically like staying in a hotel which was always nice, and I have fond memories of that. But growing up, yeah, we didn't do much camping. Or not camping, but camping the way it's normally done, like you picture in a tent. Eventually, when I hit high school, I made groups of friends who actually knew how to camp, and I quickly fell in love with it. And as I got older, I learned that you could actually camp for free in different spots. If you were willing to walk or drive uh, a little bit to get out of the way. And what I learned is you could actually have much better campsites with a whole lot less people if you would just put in a little more effort to go that way. Which brings me to today. I recently got back from a 2-week road trip with my family and my friend who flew out from Indiana and just did a nice loop starting at Crater Lake, moving down to Mount Shasta, and where we crossed over and we actually went to Willow Creek, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with Bigfoot, but that's where the big famous Bigfoot video where you see him kind of walking, lumbering around, was taken back in the 70s. And from there, we moved our way out to the coast, drove our way up to Cape Disappointment, which if any of you have never been, I highly recommend it. It's kind of a hidden gem. I'm actually surprised people don't know more about that spot. It's right next to the Columbia River, and it's got beaches, it's got beautiful trails, and things most people would want if you're into nature. And besides Cape Disappointment, we actually made a point of staying in backwoods campsites, which are fun adventures on their own because most of the time you're taking these crazy old logging roads that are not maintained, so you're bouncing around and kicking up all kinds of dust. But what was real nice is that at each campsite we stayed at, we had 1 or 2 other people kind of near us, and the views were just better than anything you could see if you had just stayed at a standard campsite. For example, I would wake up every morning and just stare at Mount Shasta or stare at the lake, and it was beautiful. And it's also just so quiet. In today's society, it's harder to get away from all the modern day sounds. And at one point, we went a whole day without hearing any other cars, hearing any planes, and that was always you really feel much more connected with nature when you travel that way. And it doesn't even have to be camping. For example, a famous trail out here is Rattlesnake Ledge up near Issaquah. And what I found is there are actually 3 ledges on that trail. And when you get to the first one, it's always packed. There's always 20, 30 people taking in the beauty of the mountains and the lake. But if you just walk another half mile or so up the hill, you come to the other 2 ledges. And when you get there, there's almost nobody there, which always blew my mind because you don't even have to diverge away from the trail. And you just, really, it's just taking an extra step or a few extra steps, and you find you're able to separate yourself from anybody. And that's kind of a lot like life. I've always heard it said is if you only put in a little bit more effort, you'll be surprised by the results you get. So I encourage everyone to diverge a little bit from the path or just continue down the path a little bit longer, and you'll be surprised by one, how alone you can be, but by the breathtaking sights that you can experience when you just go a little bit further. And with that, I will hand it back over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Will, for sharing about the road less traveled. I'm always interested in adventure stories, especially hiking, because I do some of that myself. Some of the places you mentioned I've been to, which is awesome. So it connected with me. I, we've been to Cape Disappointment like 5 times. Should write that like on there as a grammarian. But thanks again for sharing your stories. And with that, I think we're going to transition and diverge to table topic.
Tabletop.
Yes, please come on up there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Again. Welcome to all of you. Toastmaster participants. Toastmaster table topics. I'll pick a topic. I will invite people to speak on this topic and or whatever they like to speak upon. So here's the topic. Would you rather be a great musician, an athlete, a scientist, a writer, a politician, or an artist? Great musician, athlete, scientist, artist, politician, or writer.
You want to volunteer first?
Any volunteers?
You can also do it too.
I'm going to volunteer first.
All right.
The word that struck me in this question was or, because I am personally not a great musician or athlete. Actually, I'm not great at most of these things. I consider myself a great artist, and I'm a pretty fair writer. It's the picture of that Michelangelo is famous for making of the man in I can't remember what that's called. The ability to be all of those things at some level. It's to me, the question here is, I don't necessarily need to be great at things, but I'm willing to try them. And I know that all of the parts of me that are great bleed into other parts of me. I am not necessarily stuck in just being an artist. The way I can be an artist in my community is to think of creative ways of connecting people, think of creative ways of decorating the room, think of creative ways of communicating in many different ways. And I am a creative thinker. I consider myself a way outside the box. What box are we talking about? Kind of a thinker. And I am discovering that the more I connect on a lateral way with people through my art, through my creativity, and through my connection, I am doing political work at the same time, because political work is actually just how do we live together and in community, and what kinds of decisions can we make together in community. So I'm finding that most of the things that I would consider myself to be great at are feeding each other in very fulfilling ways. With that, I am complete. Thank you. Anyone else want to try this topic or another topic?
I'll do it.
Right?
Once I get your time down. Ooh. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Welcome.
that is a really interesting question. Mostly because I count 6 different options, and in my head, each time you listed one, I went and just exploded in my mind what that would be like. So it was like 6 different pop-offs. I think I came down to narrowing it down to at least 2. The writer spoke to me personally because that seems to be where I gear myself to naturally out of all the 6. It's something I enjoy more than any of the other 6. My favorite thing, and I'd highly recommend doing this if you have the courage. The best times I ever have is if I'm on my laptop. It has to have a really good keyboard that's springy and be able to type fast. I will put on a playlist of rap something with high Tech 9 would be a good example. Something with very choppy lyrics. And I will turn my brain off and just go with the flow, listening to the cadence, listening to the rhythm, and see what comes out. And it's very therapeutic, very, very fun. But that's what I'm good at out of the 6. So if I had to choose one of the 5, I think the athlete, because it'd be really nice to be good at a skill. Baseball, golf probably would be the most ideal. Hanging out with Tiger Woods and everyone else, being out on the field like today, and just having that help. So to cheat, I would pick 2. I'd be a writer and an athlete.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Anyone on the screen? Sarah, would you care to participate in this, or Brandy?
All right, I'll go.
All right, Kim? Hey, Kim?
So the question is, would you rather be a great musician, athlete, scientist, artist, politician, or writer? Of all those 6, I think that I would rather be an athlete. The reason is because I enjoy doing a lot of sports, soccer, baseball, basketball, even snowboarding. And I thought it was so great to be good at all of them. Now we all know that we can't be good at all of them. You can be naturally gifted at a lot of them. And that athlete stood out to me because of all the others, I'm completely not very good at it at all. As a musician, I attempted to play a piano. I tried to learn, and after a month, I literally cannot even play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And as a scientist, I feel that my brain capacity to understand scientific things just isn't that. I didn't do good at school anyway. And as an artist, oh my gosh, I've been told by my kids that my drawing sucks. So I'm not gonna go there. I can do bubble face and politician or write. Those are all very critical thinker, creative things. And I just have grown up to realize that it's not something that excites me as much. So in the end, being an athlete just feels like it's more fun. And with that, I turn it back to you.
Thank you. Thanks. Any more?
I could go.
Ready?
Or
No,
Sarah,
go ahead.
Sarah, did you want to go? I thought I heard somebody.
You can go, Brandy, and I'll go after you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I've had the luxury of thinking about this and listening to the 3 folks that went before me. I really like the idea, Buffy, of how they all kind of intermingle and they affect each other. I think that that's really true. I think being an athlete, or at least if you go walking, it helps you think, it helps you feel better. All these things are very interrelated. And I do think of myself as being a jack of all trades. I'm someone who tends to do an average or good enough at almost everything I try. But there is something about putting the work in, putting the 10,000 hours or whatever is required to be really good at something and feeling that accomplishment. And I felt that with some things. I felt that with bike racing. I did that for many years. And at least at a local level, I was fairly competitive. And I loved that feeling of putting in the work, the training to be able to win a couple of races at the local level. But over the years, I've thought more and more about music. And I've been listening to my husband. He's picked up the guitar again. and just in the past year, how much he's grown as a musician. And I think to be able to be a good musician would be really cool. I think that feeling of accomplishment, as well as just being able to jam when you're feeling your feelings and you just want to go and you just want to jam and play with other musicians, I think that that would be really powerful. But more than anything, I think to be able to really enjoy all of those things is really great. I love snowboarding, I love biking, I love hiking, I love just playing with my family and my dogs. And I think to really enjoy life, you have to try everything at least once. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Will?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. So I actually tried to live by a philosophy from a 16th century Italian sculptor named Cellini. The famous quote you may have heard from him. Again, he's from the 16th century, so it's a little outdated. But he said, "A man should be an artist, a philosopher, and a warrior." We'll apply that to people, and we'll replace warrior with athletics. So as a result, I've tried to at least have some experience in every one. I don't know if I've talked about it, but I actually have a degree in classical guitar performance. So I've got my certificate that I'm at least a decent musician. I haven't played in a while, but I've got that going for me. I try and stay pretty active with my fitness. And I do kickboxing and martial arts on the side, and like to explore philosophy. I actually just went to a Zen Buddhist temple and stared at a wall for 40 minutes last night. So that's what I'm currently working with. But for the sake of this table topics, I would say I would probably go for politician, because in some way or another, I've done the others and I haven't explored much with politics. And I think the different experiences I've had would help create a more rounded political philosophy, just because a lot of today's politics is just so hyper focused, where you have to toe the dogma of whatever party you choose to affiliate with, and having a broader scope would I guess I would just go with great politician. I will hand it back over to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your wonderful contributions today. I feel completely fed and supported and in agreement with everybody's perspectives. And I was going to try and get diverge into that. I don't feel like anybody diverged from the topic, and yet we had this huge abundance of expressions. How about that?
Good.
So with that, I will turn it back over to our table master.
Thank you, Buffy, for another wonderful table topics. Really good table topics to expand our mind and go different directions. I want to throw diverge in there as well, but different direction just came out more smoothly. All right, now I like to call up I'm just having a hard time today. I like to call up our evaluator, Brandy, to evaluate Will's speech.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, Kim, and fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and most of all, Will. All I have to say is, wow, amazing job, Will. You started out, you said you were going to wing it. This was an impromptu speech, but you ended up diverging from that path and really finding a theme as you went on in your speech. You ended up finding the theme, and you even had a call to action, and that was to maybe take an extra step off the beaten path and explore the beautiful areas that we live in. And you talked about all these incredible areas that you visited, and it was very inspiring. So very quickly, I'm going to give you some good, better, and best tips, what I thought you did well, what I thought you could work on to make it better, and then I'm going to finally end it with what you did best. So in terms of what you did well, amazing volume. You have a great voice for politics. So I think you should use it. You're funny. When you talked about recovering city folk and some other stuff during your speech, I found myself smiling and laughing. You're a very interesting storyteller. I had lots of visuals in my mind. I was following you right along with all these places that you were talking about. You had some good gestures and some uses of body language, like when you talked about the lumbering Bigfoot, and you kind of did the Bigfoot walk, that famous Bigfoot walk, and you had a call to action. So all of those things that you ended up starting impromptu, but I think that in that impromptu speech, you were honing in and using some of the skills that you've learned as a Toastmaster. So that is awesome. So some things that you could do better. You started off your speech with a really loud ah. And then throughout your speech, you said ah a lot. So that is a crutch word for you. So just might want to work on that. And especially because your voice is so loud, those crutch words are very apparent. So want to work on that. And then because this speech was no notes, you could have moved the lectern away and just had the space and really just used your body language a little bit more for that. So I would encourage you next time you do an impromptu speech or a speech without notes. And then finally, what you did best, you are a really great storyteller. I would encourage you to explore that more. We have some contests every year, along with the International Speech Contest, we'll have like a storytelling contest. So really kind of keep exploring that, because I think you have a lot of potential as a public speaker, and I'm really impressed with this only being your second speech and with it being an impromptu speech nonetheless. So with that, I will hand it back to our Toastmaster of the day.
Getting steps in.
So Leanne, well, I won't stay here for long, because I'm just gonna turn it back over to our general evaluator, Brandy. Back to you.
Thank you, Kim. I could have just taken it from there, but I wanted you to have to run up to the lectern again.
Please remember.
Okay, as the GE, I thought this was a great meeting. We started on time. We filled our roles before the start of the meeting, which is not always easy to do. And everyone did a great job. I thought the table topics was really quite interesting. And in terms of what we could do better, you know, we could always work on getting those roles filled on time and before the meeting. That makes everything just kind of run smoothly. We come in, everybody knows their role, we can sit down, and it just takes that little bit of sort of scrambledness away from what we're doing. One thing I've noticed is we're not clapping after every time people speak. And I've been meaning to explore that a little bit more, because I don't know if that's something that we have to do as Toastmasters, but it's nice to sort of acknowledge every time someone speaks, to clap. And then I was just going to say, for table topics, I was going to say to you, Buffy, for table topics, there's so much information online. So if you ever want to explore, like, what could I do for table topics? There's just so many different ideas, and you can Google that. But I thought of that before you did your table topics, because the table topics question ended up being a really powerful one. And the way that you pulled it together, Buffy, was really cool. You did a great job with that today.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and be finished with my part of the evaluation of the meeting. and we can move on to calling up the reports. So the first report that I will call up to the lectern will be the timer report. So Sean, would you be able to give us our report?
Yes. Thank you, General Evaluator.
Mm-hmm.
So for the times today, I'm gonna start with the table topics. For Buffy, we got you down for 1:50. I was 1:52. Kim was 1:48. Brandy, you had 2:12, and Will, you were just over at 2:03. And I want to diverge for a second. Personal question, since this is my second time doing a timer in almost a decade. And with the format that we have, maybe somebody could answer, when you pull up the card, let's say it's the green card at 2 minutes, does that need to be staying up, or is it just an indicator and then dropped back down to wait for the other one? Or does it stay up until the yellow and then you hold the yellow and then you hold the red? I don't know the answer to that, so I don't know if anybody
I think you just hold it up just kind of long enough for them to see it. So
just
maybe
acknowledge.
like couple seconds, 5 seconds.
Okay. With that, thank you. I'll diverge back to the topic. So Brandy and Will, you guys were just over. Everyone else was within time. Will, great speech, by the way. You clocked in at 5:55, so you were just right there in the middle. And then Brandy, for your individual eval, you had so much praise that you just went slightly over at 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sean. You're already a pro at this.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but thank you. I'll take that. That's very nice of you to say.
Okay.
Table Toastmasters 10 years ago, is that what you're saying?
About that. I haven't done the math yet, but if I do
Mhm.
any harder thinking, I don't want to depress myself about how long it's been.
Right.
But we'll just say a decade.
So
Yeah.
some of it's in there.
Yeah. When not to divert from the thing, but when Kim asked me last week to do the timer, I kind of
I know how to do that.
yeah, it was a little bit of an ease into it. So it's
Cool.
nice. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. That's really cool. Next, I will ask our augur Marion, who is Kim, correct? Yes.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I'll do a lot of writing today. I will start the from with John first, who had forward of the day. That was really great. I tried to catch maybe 5. There's a lot of writing. Sean, to continue the theme, you're doing great starting off. I didn't catch any words that distract, to be honest with you. A lot of good word usages, so much praise, playlists of rap, turn my brain off. Should have to read my handwriting. Writing is really fast. Cadence exploded in my mind. Gear myself, courage. So move on to Buffy for bad word usage at 2 ums. It's repeating the kind of continuous and. You have 2 words of the day. Words and phrases I like: huge abundance of expression, bleed into other parts of me, creative thinker, the word that struck me, I'm willing to try, community. Will, 2 words of the day. You had your crutch words are is he also says variations of so or a, and you have a ooh, I think you meant to say road, and you said road or something. I think that's what I'm writing. Just so I have, because you did a speech, I had a lot of great word usage. Fond memories, Bigfoot, luxury, something berry around, winging it, road less travel, keep disappointment, beautiful, backwood campsite, bouncing around, connected to nature, blew my mind, continue the path, breathtaking sight, philosopher, kickboxing, zen, and stare at the wall for 40 minutes. Brandy, one word of the day. Oh, and word of distract. It's kind of on, and a duh, really twice. Luxury, intermingle, jack of all trades, putting the work in, feeling that accomplishment, be able to jam. One powerful, inspiring, honing, correct words. And I probably have the most distracted words, which aren't written here, but I caught myself while I'm doing this. Other than that, that's my report. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Great.
Well done, Kim. That's
Yeah.
impressive writing.
That was good.
Yeah, well done. Now I'm trying to think who we pass it to for closing remarks. I guess would it be
That would
you?
be,
It's
I think,
would it would it be as immediate past president or as treasurer?
very good one. We've never had our president and
VPE.
PE, which is
Yeah, we'll have to figure out like the order. You know how it's like if the president is can't be the president and then the vice president can't be the president, then it's like the speaker of the house. We'll have to figure out what the officer roles are, but I'll go ahead and jump in and take it. So wonderful meeting today, everyone. So let's see. Since Sean, you are still technically a guest, correct? You're still a guest. Okay.
Yes.
What did you think of our meeting and how did you find us?
To answer your second question, I went online and searched the Toastmasters website and just saw the 10 that are in the area. And you guys had a good time. I don't know how this like lunch thing is gonna work out for me, but so far I'm 2 for 2, so I got a good feeling about it.
Great.
And as far as the meeting went, I think I said this last week, you guys have a very calming presence. It's very nice walking into this room, and I haven't once felt out of place or out of element. You guys just seem to have this way about conducting this class, which is very nice. So I appreciate that, and for being welcoming.
Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. It's good to hear that we're still SoMeridian. Yeah. there's a story at some point, and I don't know the whole story, but the way that this culture that we have in our club, someone said, I think it was at a district convention or something, they said, oh, that's just SoMeridian because we're so nice. So it's good to hear that we still have that calming presence and that very welcoming culture.
I thought that was the definition of meridian. I'm looking up the definition of meridian right now, and now I know.
Cool.
That's
Well, I think
it's like that's such a meridian way of being. You're so meridian.
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody said,
Yeah.
"You're so meridian," and they
Okay.
went, "Oh, that's a good catchy title."
Mhm.
club name is Meridian,
Right.
And so
Yeah.
Meridian.
Yeah. And I think the name Meridian came from the fact that we meet at noon. And I think our club has always met at noon from its inception in 1981, I think. Our club's been around for a long time. So anyway, well, I'm trying to think of any orders of business. I know we'll need to get Sarah and Buffy inducted as new members sometime in the next few weeks. And then if you're interested in joining Sean, we can set you up with our who's our VP of membership? Is it you?
Yeah, I got your email too.
I've already sent them.
Okay. Okay. So we're all set up there.
But for sure. Thank you.
Excellent. And yeah, maybe we'll touch bases at our meeting next week in terms of like upcoming events and things that are happening in the district. There's always something going on for folks that want to be super involved in Toastmasters, and for clubs that are really high achievers. There's always some kind of activity going on within Toastmasters. But I think our club, we just want to become better speakers and do what we can to become distinguished clubs and that type of thing. But the most important thing is that we all are, working on our paths, and not only our pathways, which is our education program, but our paths, our personal paths in terms of becoming better speakers and better leaders. So unless anyone has any business to bring up, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And then we can, after we adjourn the meeting, we can really quickly see if there's any roles for next week. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and officially adjourn. We can stop the recording.